It's the BBPTV show since 2012, where amazing guests share their digital adventures. Who will we meet today? Small biz influencer, up-and-coming trendsetter, accomplished author? You never know who'll be dropping by. And now, here's your host, Elaine Lindsay, the bionic glamourpreneur with True Social Media, who's the second most curious person on the planet.
Hello. It's so good to be back. And I am really excited today to bring you a very recently best-selling author. Melinda Van Fleet is today's guest, and I want to give you a good going over of who she is and what she does. So first and foremost, she's a business success coach. And something that's really cool to me, she lives in Florida. She doesn't have to put up with snow ever, which I think is really cool. More to the point, she's the author of Confidence Mastery for Couples. It's the roadmap to a more intimate relationship. She's a speaker who helps women develop confidence to believe in themselves, take action, and get results. Her and her husband, Ryan, moved to the Florida Keys in 2009. They were both laid off from their jobs at the same time, and they started two successful businesses. One is called Good Karma Sport Fishing. God, doesn't that sound like the life? Now she utilizes her over 25 years of experience building businesses and her passion for working with people to teach women real-life tools they can use to improve their confidence, relationships, to increase her productivity and approach each day with a sense of purpose. Melinda is the host of two weekly podcasts, Good Karma Success Coach and Confident Conversations. And I will tell you, I got to be a guest on her show, the podcast Confident Conversations. So we will talk about how you can get in touch with her and all of the ways that you can connect with her and her website later in the show. For now, I just want to say welcome, Melinda.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to our chat. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited because you and I are both columnists with Marketing, Media, and Money magazine for the ever amazing Patty Farmer. And the more I saw of your article, the more I thought, I have to get to know this lady. I think you and I have a lot in common.
We do have a lot in common, yes.
Absolutely. And not the least of which is I would so love to be where you are and living in Florida. So I think I may just have to work on manifesting that now.
You can, yes.
I think so. Because the only place in Florida I haven't been is the Keys.
Oh, wow. Well, then you have to, for sure, figure out how to get down here.
Absolutely. But let's talk about this book, because when we talk success coach and good karma fishing, it's sport fishing, and these kinds of things, confidence for couples is not necessarily the first thing you think about.
Right. And it takes a lot to get there and do all the things that we have done and still do. And it's a process of building your confidence over time, step by step, lots of mistakes and lots of journeys that still continue.
That's a good point. I want people to take away. I don't think, like learning, I don't think relationships are ever finished per se. No. It's a work in progress, just like we are.
Yes. Yeah. And that's part of one of the chapters is when I say, how amazing it is when someone's like, oh, I have the perfect husband. And I'm like, can I clone him? Because I'm just like, really? And I'm not the perfect wife. So it's not like I think that I'm so perfect. I'm certainly not. So there's lots of learnings there every day.
Absolutely. It's funny you mention that because my husband and I watch Jeopardy. Okay. And always the men and women who go on saying, my amazing wife, my fabulous husband, my whatever. Nobody gets on and says, nah, I got an average hubby. Yeah, I would just like one person to say, yeah, we're an average couple. What can I tell you?
Or we just had a big fight in the car on the way to the studio.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
he's
like,
an idiot.
that's
I'm
the
married
shit
to
that
an idiot.
happens. Yeah.
It's so true. And I
Mhm.
don't know about you, but I find that immediately after me telling people how great he is because he's done something nice, he turns into a complete asshole.
You jinxed yourself. So yeah, I've been
So
there. You're like, oh my God, I
absolutely.
just give you props for that. And now what just happened? So yeah.
Yeah, it's like, God, I was just telling people how good you are, and now you're just wrecking that for me.
Totally.
I think, okay, that segues perfectly into the book because what I really loved was the fact the book starts out, and I think, is it chapter 2 is I am so pissed.
Yes. And I wrote that chapter, and I even put this in the book. I had almost completed the book, and I
Yeah.
didn't want people to think that I was coming from this place that, yeah, that it's everyday sunshine and rainbows, because it is not. And it was like I manifested this situation to happen, because then all of a sudden we had this blowout about him putting a shirt in the laundry bin, which is like ridiculous, right? And then it ended up unpeeling like all these layers of communication and learning. And it became the chapter. It became the chapter to kick off the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's what kind of hooked me from the beginning was the fact that you were being real, that even though this is about confidence for couples and pulling your relationship together, it's not all sunshine and roses and rainbow out your butt, I guess is how the kids say it.
Mhm.
Now, in the book, there are chapters on intentions, there are chapters on reframing and triggers. And what is the one thing, okay, in the whole book? I think maybe there was one piece that kind of prompted you to write the book. Something that Ryan said to you. Her husband's name is Ryan, by the way.
Something that he said to me, well, at the end, we talk about teamwork and support. So that was a huge thing, was just recognizing how we help each other as a team, and we support each other, and then we come together. And sometimes you don't even give as a giver. So I'm a giver, and a lot of people are. We don't give ourselves then enough credit for what we do. And then sharing that with others is really, I think, eye-opening, because there are so many people that are in that boat, that they're just givers, and they don't recognize that, yeah, you have to come together as a team and work together as a team and support each other. And then that really plays out even a bigger picture towards your future.
Oh, absolutely. I know that years ago, I read the five love languages and
Mm-hmm.
kind of put it away. And in looking at your book, hubby and I talked because I realized that I never really understood what the differences were there. Okay. I am like you, I'm a giver. I am happiest when I can give someone a gift of something that they didn't expect, something they really wanted but wouldn't get themselves or whatever. My husband's not good at getting gifts because he wasn't brought up that way. And I'm driven demented because he'll say to the kids, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." I said, "No, the answer is thank you.
Thank you.
Say thank you."
Mm-hmm.
And as we sort of explored, just about a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this, and I said, I just, I just want to give, and you're not so good at I said, what is it? What is it you want? And we talked, and he said, it's just time. I want time with you.
Aw.
It's like, be present. It's like, oh, wow. And
Mm.
it just occurred to me. I got into the book and was looking at triggers and
Mm.
reframing and thought, oh, wow, that is so telling because we can be that different. I'm sure
Mhm.
you and Ryan probably have differences as well in how you do things or the things you choose to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. When we first got together, I was so excited to finally find someone. And I write about that in the book too, with some
Yes.
funny stories.
Yeah.
And, you celebrate the things you have in common. Let's put it that way. You celebrate things you have in common, whether you like the same food or vacation the same, or even have the same aspirations and dreams, like ours was to move somewhere where it never ever snowed. But you rarely celebrate the differences. But the
Yeah.
differences are what makes you stronger and what makes you grow as a person. And that's what's really, really important. Just like the hardships in your life, right? All the challenges that you go through, that makes you stronger and a better person. If everyone was just perfect all the time, and you and I have touched on perfection before, the conversation of perfection, how boring would that be, right? And then no one would be growing or becoming their best selves because everyone would be walking around in this perfect little life. So there's a lot to be said for that. And triggers is a huge piece of, I'm going to be honest, everyone's daily life.
Yes.
There is
Yes.
something that is gonna go or whatever, any type of level, is something's gonna trigger you. And I do talk about triggers and reframing a lot in the book and refer back to that because it's something I just passionately believe in, that when you start to bust through them, it helps build your confidence to move forward. And then you just have like more positive energy and things start to flow, and all these other things can start to happen. But in a roundabout way, it is the concept of understanding that everything being perfect and everything being in common is not always the best picture. It's good to work through all the negative stuff to make that positive and keep growing as a person.
Oh, can you just imagine how boring it would be if yeah, not even in my wildest dreams would I want someone that acted the way I do.
I know.
That'd be horrible. Oh, yuck. Yeah, I can think of someone who became a really good friend, but we dated many, 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 many years ago. And it was somebody once said to us, one of our other friends said, "Oh my God, like you're the female him and he's the male you." And after, we were friends for years. Sadly, he's since passed, but he said, "Oh, it's so weird because I know what you're thinking," and it was just too much of the same thing. Yeah, there's no interest. There's no time for lively debate. There's no discussion if it's just same. Oh,
Same. Yeah.
yeah,
Same
yeah. I
old
think that
every
would be my
day.
nightmare. Yeah, I think that would be my nightmare. Yeah. Now, I want us to talk about the one thing that I know everybody thinks is one of the biggest issues that couples deal with, and that's money.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yep. Money is huge. I actually just did a podcast episode on money and I looked at my rankings. Yeah, it was one of my biggest podcasts, that as far back as I looked, right?
Yeah,
Because money can make or break a relationship.
yeah.
Money consumes our thoughts, energy, how we behave, our work life balance in regards to whether you have a business or you work for someone else, and how that all plays out in your life, because business and life goes hand in hand. And I will follow up with a book on money
Yeah.
So this
Good.
chapter was just a snippet, and it was a snippet of, number one, sharing reality, because I do believe that some people probably live in this construct of not, how do I put it? Not being authentic, that they might be non-traditional in
Yeah.
how they handle money.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I share. I handle the money, anything to do with looking at the bank account. I don't want to pay the bills. Doesn't make me feel good. I don't get it. I screwed up. And I write about what it was like when we met. And I think a lot of people might have some shame around that if they do have a partner that isn't great with money. And I even say in the book too, I'm not even a financial planning expert. That's not even my gig.
No.
Like, I just happen to be a little bit better than him.
Yeah.
So that's just how we've handled it. And then in the book, which I've saved for the book, I definitely share a story that is just an eye-opening aha moment story. It was for us, and I do believe that other people have similar stories out there that they're saying to themselves that they don't realize. And literally the day we changed what we were saying to ourselves,
Yeah.
I have the chills just recounting this, it changed. Everything changed. And it just shows you about, mindset and what you're saying and how that really plays out with the universe. It just really does. And we shifted his whole business when we stopped doing something.
Yeah.
And that story is in the book. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to leave that for the book because it's a really good story. But I will say you brought up something I think that's critically important, and that's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because even before you or I knew about mindset, I think you say in the book, even as a child, you knew there was just something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Intuitively, but didn't really know. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that piece, that mindset, that both working in tandem, I think, is that kind of teamwork is really what makes the dream work, if you're going to go with the old adages. But I have to tell you a quick story about the money piece. Quite a few years ago, we were having a discussion because I was coming from a place of fear and had got myself into sort of a weird area. And I was having an argument with him, and I basically said, well, what do you think? Like, money just appears? And he said, well, yeah, you say things are good, and they are. And it was such a pivotal moment because
Awesome.
I had to step back and go, oh, hang on a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He's not operating from fear.
Mm-hmm.
He, like Ryan, he's not good with the money. And he had taken it on for a while, and it was not pretty. And when it was given back to me, I said, are you sure? Yeah, absolutely. You do that. You're comfortable doing that. Do it. And I had to learn because many, many years ago, it was not my thing. But when we had this discussion, this argument, and he said, well, yeah, you say it's good, so it's good. My whole mindset had to catch up with where he was, because although he didn't do the spiritual work I did at that point, or got into understanding energy and our mindset and how we create our reality, he was just secure in our relationship and just assumed it was so. And it really flipped the switch for me in how I perceived our money relationship.
Yeah, I love that story. And it's fascinating actually on many levels. You'll, a lot of people will be like, well, how is that person more successful than that person? And that person isn't even spiritual, or that person is what, or never even read a book from so-and-so. But if they just have that innate
Knowing.
belief and knowing and who knows, that's their soul's journey, and that can take us all down a whole other path. But how that ever happened, we really don't know. But it's really fascinating how some people's journey is just that. Like they just know and they're comfortable and they're like, it's going to appear, because it's true. Money is energy. It does appear. And if you think about, when I think about COVID last year, for example, like we were shut down.
Yeah.
And both of our businesses were truly shut down.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't get any money from the state of Florida. We tried and tried and tried. Nothing. It was a disaster in Florida and other places too, obviously. We didn't get an SBA loan grant. We didn't get PPE. We didn't get jack. And we still did okay. I still could buy my groceries. I could still pay my rent. Yeah. So money is energy, and we just kept a positive mindset. A lot of it had to do with the fact of what we went through when we were both laid off. We built upon that belief system and saw that work then. So we were able to apply it easily and quickly with COVID. But it is really amazing if you think about it. Like at the end of the day, we didn't starve. We're okay. Like I still paid the light bill. We did all right. So it is really amazing when you can shift it. And I find it fascinating being in this space of personal development, how many books, podcasts, shows like this, everything you can imagine, articles, blogs about money mindset. And it's still one of the biggest topics ever because people really don't make the changes they need to do and really put in that work, because it is work and people just don't do it. So this industry is, billions of dollars because people will read a book and then be like, okay, read it and put it on the shelf, and they don't do the work. So do the work, people.
Absolutely. Do the work. Do the work.
Do the work.
Well, it's true. And a lot of it I find is allowing yourself to fall back into fear. Can be a real problem for people. Because when you're operating in fear, that's all that there is. Nothing, there's no room for the money or the happiness or the anything else. And on that note, haven't got to the final chapter yet, but something that probably a lot of people may have questions about in terms of couples, but what about those basic considerations of comparison and jealousy?
Yes. And I created a chapter called Who Cares? based on that, because we have certainly dealt with that down here in South Florida with my husband's fishing business. And if it goes on everywhere. I'm not going to say it's just a South Florida thing, but you might be comparing your house next to somebody else or their car, so-and-so has a Land Rover, I don't, there's so many things that we all compare ourselves on, which then breeds competition and envy, and just adopting this mindset. And I call it the Who Cares movement, to be like, who cares? Who cares? Because if you start to break all that down, do you really want their life? I mean, I'm going to tell you that probably 99.9% you're going to say, actually, no, I don't. Like, I don't want all their kids. I don't want to live where they live. I don't want their overhead as a business. I don't want to even do what they do. So why are you focused on this one little thing? Be grateful and happy for what you have, and maybe use it as fuel and inspiration to achieve something else in your life or make a change or a pivot, and not be so in the mud with the envy and the comparison.
That's such a good point. And the fact is, I truly believe that there's an abundance of everything. So why not just have your own? Why waste your time worrying about it? What everybody else has? Have your own. Yeah.
I tell Ryan all the time, we joke, I'm like, your brain space is so sacred. So why would you use that space that's so sacred, your thoughts, on worrying about something else that you can't control? It doesn't concern you. And do you really want it at the end of the day? So use your brain space, your own personal thoughts. It's your most valuable real estate for something else, to learn a new skill, to connect with somebody that would be a good person to know. There's so many other things that you can do with that really valuable real estate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's much more important to fill your brain, your mind, your heart with a gratitude attitude, and with all the positive things that you can do for you and your partner.
Yes, exactly. Fill your brain with gratitude. If you're struggling out there, that should be your back pocket tool where you're like, okay, I know I can just switch to a thank you like that.
Yeah.
That should be your
Yeah.
number one thing. So
Oh, absolutely. And being more grateful that those around you are bountiful as well.
Yes.
Because success leaves clues.
And it builds. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Celebrate.
Absolutely. Celebrate. And that takes us into, you have a whole chapter on energy. Energy is everything. I think that's right. Energy is everything. Because truly, without energy, and this probably you're finding as well, but I think it's really fabulous that as much as there are, some really not great things happening right now, in the people being awake, aware, and understanding that energy, we're not being woo-woo, it's real, it's scientific, it's all about, this is what people need to concentrate on now.
Yep. And focusing on their energy. And then also just being aware of other people. You can't change them, but you can be aware of them, and you can shift what, path you take in the day to feel good based on your surroundings, based on other people, based on the choices you make. So in the book, I say, there's a lot here to dig into, because it does. But I do believe that that's one of the most important takeaways that anyone can have, is just recognizing that and starting that mindset shift, and that making it just part of your thought process and even your dialogue, and the awareness that energy is everything. So the more positive you can be, the more positive things are going to come to you. There's so many things where I'm like, oh, I'm so lucky and I'm grateful, but then I had positive energy through the whole day. So I expected that, and I appreciated that. And that just kept permeating and growing and building momentum. But I love writing about energy. I love talking about energy just as much as I love talking about triggers, because they actually go hand in hand, right? Because the trigger is the negative energy, and then you have to bust through it and help shift your energy and come around so you feel good. And we all want to feel good. Anyone that, I don't think anyone would disagree with me. So
No. And the fact is, if you actively participate in your life moment by moment, you can actually hit those triggers and be quicker in tamping down your reaction, and instead, uplifting your energy so that you can remain in gratitude, be positive, and find the lesson in that trigger, rather than allowing it to push you farther and farther down that rabbit hole.
Yep. No, you're so right. And I love how you just tied it together too. So it is that awareness and not sitting in that.
Yeah.
So you get, don't get in that hole. Don't get in that hole. Just kind of like figure out how to graze over it and keep on going, and figure out how to turn it around. It's really important.
And I think the more aware you are in your moments, the more present you are in your life, the less likely you are to be stuck in some long reaction, because you get the trigger right away. And the more often you pay attention, the sooner you're able to check yourself, rein yourself in, and move in a better direction, right?
But don't you feel that there are so many people that just operate on autopilot? And that's exactly what you're saying is these people that go through the day and all of a sudden their day's over, their week's over, their month's over, and they might have let all this bad energy and triggers just pile up because they're just going on autopilot. And that's what also too, I believe in just our conversation now is just raising that awareness that, oh my gosh, stop, take a moment, think about this and start to work on moving through it. But people don't, they don't. And actually that's what I have a course launching on March 30th. And the first step is the what are your triggers, because so many people just operate on autopilot, so they don't even realize, and then they're like, oh, and now they're in the hole. Now they're in the hole.
My spiritual advisor many years ago taught us that even when you go into like a board meeting or you go into a networking room, even now in a virtual room, and you can kind of feel that some people's energy is really low, the vibration, if you will, is more negative than not. You yourself can raise your own vibration by being calm, feeling joy, embodying your gratitude attitude. And actually, you can bring up the vibration of that whole room.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or you can be unaware and then get sucked into it. So
exactly. And I firmly believe that you need to start before your feet hit the floor in the morning. Start with a gratitude attitude and make a point of trying to be present. Be present when you're brushing your teeth. Be present, for ladies, when you're putting on your lipstick or your mascara or whatever, or your clothes. Be present in that moment, because you don't know if you're going to have another one. So why not savor the one you have? When tomorrow comes, then savor them again. And enjoy them a little bit more. But that specifically, I think, is really important in a couple situation, because it's really easy to, roll out of bed, hit the floor, and already be annoyed because there's a stack of socks, or there's, just a pile of whatever, or there's toothpaste in the sink, or any one of, a bunch of stupid little things that you can allow to affect you, when instead, had you hit the floor already with a gratitude attitude, those things would have been inconsequential and would not have affected your energy.
And I do believe there's so many couples out there that are struggling with an imbalance, that one of the partners might not, be having that gratitude attitude. They might be waking up on the wrong side of the bed. How do you want to put it? And unfortunately, then that brings down the other person, or the other person might be exhuming a lot of energy to bring the other person up to speed. So recognizing if you are one of those people out there that are struggling with that, either one side or the other, or it can shift sides. It's not like one's always super happy and the other one's super depressed. I mean, it shifts. It can shift back and forth. And that's what, we've experienced, that you're not alone. You're not alone. And the more you can have the conversation to work through it. But that's the thing, is a lot of people don't talk. So have the communication and the recognizing what's going on and not being on that autopilot, so you can start to shift. And just know it's a work in progress. I mean, it's work every day. It's work to get there and celebrate the wins. So
absolutely. And that was where I wanted you to go with that, is communication. I think communication is exactly, is just huge, and making sure that is maintained. I know that if you were to ask me what's the most important thing for a relationship, okay, for me, it's humor.
Mm.
Okay, because when all is said and done, doesn't matter what we live through or what's going on, at the end of the day, we make each other laugh all the
Hmm.
time. During good times, bad times, whatever, we're always able to make each other laugh. And I think that alone not only raises your vibrations, but it increases the serotonin and the dopamine and there's one other one that I'm losing the word for at the moment, but that are all those good chemicals that permeate our bodies in order to give us those good feelings that help us in being able to maintain the good energies and the gratitude attitude.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of couples would probably say they don't laugh. Like they don't laugh enough. And, my husband lately has been making these silly Instagram stories. I mean, literally they're silly. So anyone out there, if you want to see them, my
Oh, good.
husband is Good Karma Sport Fishing _FL_keys. You can find me or
We'll
whatever.
have that on the page for sure.
And my husband runs a very serious charter fishing business here in the
Yeah.
Keys. He catches very big fish. He has a very dedicated clientele and community. So all of a sudden, he started doing these really dumb videos where he's actually singing. Okay, so my husband's 6 foot
Ooh,
one. He's not a small dude. He's a big
yeah,
guy, and he's definitely a guy's guy. And he's singing and making up these silly videos, and
yeah,
it's making me laugh, and it makes him laugh, and his following is laughing, and they're like along for the ride, and it's
yeah.
just really hilarious because, like I said, he's like 6 foot 1. He's a big dude. Like you wouldn't look at him in the grocery store and think he's going to be singing on Instagram. Like
No.
it's not. It's not your typical, quote unquote, person that would be, in that lane. And yeah, but it makes him laugh doing it. It makes me laugh watching it. And it's making his community laugh, which is really, really important, is finding something to laugh at. And he's kind of laughing at himself. Like, I look like a ding dong. And,
You
here I
have
am singing about fish.
Yeah. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. I
Hmm.
believe not just couples, but as a human, you have to be able to find the funny in your foibles.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I have a friend, Nurjahan says, you have to celebrate. So you have to have your failabrations.
Oh,
And
failabrations. That's like your flawsome
failabration,
word. Very
yeah,
good.
it really, it is a
Love
flossom
that.
word. Oh, I love that. I love how you brought that in. I
Yeah,
hope
you're right.
Stan and David are listening to Flossom for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, failabrations are quite often for me, it becomes hilarious because
Hmm.
you do things and think, oh, duh. Now, years ago, and not to offend you, but I used to be able to rely on the fact that I was blonde and I could just say, oh, well, I'm blonde.
One
I no
moment.
longer have that option.
So you have no excuse, right?
No excuse. It's just, oh, well, it's a failabration. But I do them well.
Yes. And I have dumb things too. Like this is just a really dumb, quick story. But when
Okay.
my book, oh yeah, good, right? When my book, when my book went live on Amazon, it wasn't launched yet, right? So anyone that has put a book out there, it's
Yeah.
kind of like on Amazon, but you're not promoting it yet. And it was first as a paperback. So I ordered my author copies the first day. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to order my author copies. I authored, 10 copies I ordered. And it said that they were going to arrive on March 9th. And March 9th was my launch day. So I didn't think anything of, oh, that's so great. In the meantime, people that had found the book, like my family and some friends, they were like, oh, I ordered the book and I got it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't have mine yet. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, how stupid am I? I could have at least ordered like one copy for myself. And I'm like waiting, it's $12.99, really. Like it's
Yeah.
not like a money thing. It's just stupidity of me going, oh, I'm waiting for the box to come, which will be in over a week. And then I even called Amazon to say, hey, when am I going to get my copies? Right. And they're like, well, that's done on a different printer. So author copies always take longer. And I still waited another day before I went, I could just order one book and I'd have my own like real book, instead of the fake book I was using. So yeah, so we all do dumb things.
Yes.
And yeah, we just have to laugh at ourselves and
So there's
celebrate.
the celebration for the book.
Just stupid, right? So
Oh, we would be here for weeks
I
and weeks
know,
and weeks
forever.
if we talk about the stupid things that I do.
Oh,
Because sometimes it's just, I have those what we call duh moments
yeah,
quite
totally.
often. Sometimes do it on purpose because it makes him laugh.
Which is then good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been wonderful. Once again, tell us, hold it up, the book. So there we go. Confidence Mastery for Couples. Okay, it's a roadmap to a more intimate relationship. And I think those are the very best kind to have. I thank you so much, Melinda, for being on the show. We always wrap up our show with asking our guest to share a little tweak or hack, something you use daily, either personal or for business, that the audience can take away to use for themselves.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm just delighted. And this is so fun. And I like before I realized what you were saying, I thought you were going to, in the wrap up, like we could talk forever because you and I could.
We could.
So that's where I was going. I was like, oh yeah.
It just means I get to bring you back on the show again.
Yay! Oh, awesome. Thank you. So what I would say, it's a chapter in my book, but I don't necessarily go down this path. But my advice tip is do what feels good for you. And I think a lot of people, the majority of people, get so wrapped up into listening to so-and-so expert of, oh, you need to wake up early and you need to, not check your phone for 3 hours. And then you need to, if you're a writer, sit for an hour and write and get to 8,000 words. And oh my God, like, no. Figure out what makes you happy, because that's the positive energy. That's the positive vibe. That's where you're going to get your momentum, because that's what your soul wants, is for you to be happy. So if you are someone that is productive at night and you like to stay up at night, even if it's just you like to watch Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, and you want to stay up, right? Then freaking do that. Just because I get up at 4 a.m. doesn't mean you have to get up at 4 a.m. Like I get that. Like, I don't expect that from Ryan. If he wants to sleep in, he sleeps in. He likes to take a nap. I don't judge him for that. Take a nap. It feels good for you. Take a nap. So I think that so many people, whether or not they're just into trying to figure it out, so they're listening to all this noise, that's fine. But at the end of the day, figure out what is good for you as your tools and develop your own buckets of tools that help you get through the day. So at the end of the day, you're feeling good. And just because I get up at 4 a.m., like I'm not going to tell you that's a tip. Like, do what you want to do.
You could be a morning show host.
I could be easily a morning show host, but then don't talk to me after 5. After 5 p.m. Like, I'm like, no, I'm grouchy and want to go to sleep.
Okay, well, that is good to know. I will try and refrain from sending you texts late at night.
Yeah, I would just, you know what? There's my tip on that. I just don't answer. So
yeah.
I've learned that. Like, I actually podcasted about that a while ago. Like, then you understand when you're happy or not happy, or in a good mood, not in a good mood, however you want to put it. And then you just don't respond. Like, I had a customer that was always calling me late, and I adored her. And I found I was always snippy with her. And I was like, she doesn't deserve that. It was on me. that I was just tired. So I would be like, I'll just get back to her tomorrow morning when I'm refreshed and in a good energetic place to get back to her. So yeah.
Absolutely. Hopefully not at 4.
Right. Exactly. I wait.
Well, that's good to know. I have to say thank you again. This has been excellent. Get out there and get Melinda's book. You will be sure and be able to find all the links and everything on the website, on her page. And we'll even make sure that the link is there for Ryan, her hubby's Instagram feed, so that you can go there and get some fun there as well.
Have a good laugh.
Absolutely. I'm Elaine Lindsay. This has been my guest, Melinda Van Fleet. I am so happy to share this time with you. We will see you again next time in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, make the best of your today, every day.
Brought to you by BBPTV Show and True